morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's Dr. Jan Fortman with Relationship Matters TV. Tonight is my Valentine's Day show or my pre-Valentine's Day show, whichever one you'd like to call it. And I asked a question. What is your love story? Now, today is February 12th, and Valentine's Day here in the United States is Saturday, February 14th. And there's so many Valentine's Day celebrations, all kinds of celebrations of love. And when I said, "What's your story?" I thought I would start it myself about my love story. Well, let me show you a picture. I am married to Mr. Keith Fortman, and I want to show you a picture of before we got married. This is us, young, vibrant, just full of possibilities and love. Now, I think this picture was taken, maybe about 5 years before we got married. We had a very long friendship before we got married. Now, how did I meet Mr. Keith Fortman? Well, this was back in the day when there was no internet. Well, there was internet, but there were no online dating apps. There was the newspaper. Now, what you would do is put your ad in the newspaper saying who you were looking for or what you were looking for, and then that other person would do that. And you would read the ads. Each ad had like a little, you would say a P.O. box, but it was like just a little box that you could communicate with the person, how you could communicate with the person. And he had put an ad in. I had put an ad in. Now, I put that ad in because one of my girlfriends said, "You know what? This is what we need to do. We're trying to meet nice young men, so why don't we just go ahead and put this ad in?" Well, I put my ad in and she didn't. She said she wanted to wait to see. Okay, now, through that ad, I met a lot of frogs. Some of them I would meet and in a public place, and I would always say, "Okay, I will have on a brown coat and black dress." But what I would do, I'd come in there, I wouldn't have that on because I wanted to see who it was first. And that way I could just walk away and just never communicate with them again. But there was this ad. Now, my husband and I have talked about this. Who answered whose ad? I said he answered my ad. He said I answered his ad. And since that's been so long ago, we can't go back and look at those ads. But that's how we met. We met from an ad in the newspaper. We talked a long time on the phone before we would meet. And as I said, I always met whoever it was that I communicated with, in a public place. But this time, for some reason, I really felt secure. I felt safe. And I decided the first time I was going to meet him face to face, I would let him come to my home. Now, we had talked a long time and we had found that we had so many things in common. So one day it was like, okay, we're going to meet for lunch. And so I'm looking out the window, and I see this car slowly coming down the street. And it is a one-way street. And the car slowly drove past my house. Then it backed up. Guess what? It backed up into another car who was going forward. And I thought, oh my God, I hope that's not him. Oh my goodness. And it was. Well, there was no damage to either car, and the car that he bumped into or backed into, once the young man got out, talked with his mom, they decided, there was no damage. Okay, so then he went on and he parked. And I said, oh, it is Keith. Well, we had lunch, and lunch lasted for almost 4 or 5 hours. And since that time, we've been together. Now, we went together for about 8 years. I wanted to get married, and then he didn't. He wanted to get married, and then I didn't. But anyway, in 2010, after 8 years of being friends, we decided to get married. So now, remember, this was the picture before we got married, maybe 2 years after we met. Now, this is the day that we got married. Oh my goodness. Look at those happy faces. We had a beautiful wedding. Now, this was, I thought it was our honeymoon, but it wasn't our honeymoon. It was just, I think we had been married a couple of years, and we went to Hawaii on vacation. So that was then. Now, this is us now. What? 19 years later? How many years later, Mr. Keith Fortman?
20.
About 20?
24.
Oh my God. 24 years later, this is Mr. and Mrs. Keith Fortman. So, do you have a Valentine's story? Oh, my phone is buzzing. That you would like to share? A love story that you would like to share? Because I would love for you to put it in the comments and let me know. Or if you would just, a lot of you all text me while I'm on. But even if you text me, the ones who have my number, let me know what your love story is. So now, how do you maintain a relationship? But first of all, let's talk about how you can meet someone. I know several men and women who are looking for that lifelong partner. So I looked up some statistics. First of all, I saw that men are much more likely than women to fall in love at first sight. 48% of men versus 28% of women. Now, how do you find someone? Well, now this is statistics that I looked up, and they're from 2025. 20% of current committed relationships, 20%, listen to that, began online. However, the best chance at finding love is through a friend, which is how 63% of married couples say they met their partner. So now, if you have a friend and they know some single men and some single women that they feel are worthy of you, ask them, do you have a friend? Okay. Now, Okay, so now we talked about online, and it's only 20% of the current committed relationships begin online. Now, there's another stat: 53% of people lie on their dating profiles. 20% of women say they admitted to using an older picture on their dating profile from when they were younger and thinner. More than 40% of men say they lied about their jobs because they wanted to seem like they were more successful than they were. So now, any of you out there, if you ventured online, did you do that? If you were a woman, did you put your picture of how you look today? Or did you put that young, thin picture? And men, well, you know what? You all do the same thing. I didn't see those stats, but I know you do the same thing. But do you lie about the kind of job you have? Just wondered about that. Now, what else? Oh, where to meet people, or where not to meet people. Only 9% of women report finding a relationship in a bar or a club. And only 2% of men made relationships meeting that woman in a bar or in a club. I tell people that, young people especially, you know, who's hanging out in the bar and who's hanging out in the club? Not normally, not someone who you really want to have a long-term relationship. Now, I'm not saying that, people in bars and clubs are bad people, but is that where you want to meet them? So let's talk about where the best places, according to the statistics and what I looked up, the best places to meet someone. Okay. The first one is said hobbies and interest groups. Joining classes for pottery, for dancing, that's a good one. Cooking, whatever it is that you're interested in, videography, photography, theater, art, whatever it is that you have an interest in, join a group that has that same interest. Because then, first of all, right away, you have something in common. Okay? Now, the next one is said active and social sports like volleyball. So now it's like pickleball. That's usually older people. Running, uh, basketball, football, biking, usually where there are groups of people. So now look at that. You meet someone at a football game or a baseball game or volleyball or just a running group or a biking group. You have something in common. Mm-hmm. Another good way is volunteering. Now, that's a good way because it's usually a low pressure kind of environment, you know, because number one, you're really not focused on meeting someone, so to speak, where you're really more focused on volunteering. So, have you met anyone through any of those places that I've talked about? If you have, let me know. Maybe you didn't get married or anything, but just let me know if you've met someone who maybe you would like to have a relationship with in one of these places. Now, another place is bookstores, coffee shops, restaurants. Let's say you like to shop. Women, a good place to meet a man, uh, especially one who maybe has a little money, is one of those stores that caters to men, one of those high end stores. Because if he's there shopping for himself in a high end store, more than likely he's single. But then you can always look on that finger and see if you see a ring. If you don't see a ring, you can always tell just looking at that finger if that ring finger, where that ring would be, is a different color than the rest of the finger. Okay? Men, same thing. How can you meet a woman? Now, it's kind of hard if it's just a shop where it's just women, because then a woman will think that evidently you're shopping for another woman. So that's kind of hard. But anyway, women, that's a tip. Okay. Also, what else? Networking, professional networking groups. So let's say you're a corporate leader and you're in a networking group, plus the fact that's a good way to start a conversation. Okay. So just think, let's say you are a leadership coach or communications coach or interested in politics, and you're there, you're networking. Who knows? You might meet someone. Now, when you are in those places, this is a tip. You have to be approachable. You have to be more open and just have a conversation rather than just looking for a partner. Although we know in the back of your mind, that's really why you're there. But even if it's one of these places and you're just enjoying yourself, just enjoy yourself. You never know who you might meet. Now, I'm going to say this. Women, men can tell when you're hungry. Men, women can tell when you're hungry. You cannot be hungry. And you might say, well, how can they tell? It's just the way that you are presenting yourself, your conversation. Sometimes it's just the way that you're carrying yourself. You don't want to appear hungry. Okay. Also, as I said before about your friends, there are, let's say you're in a social circle, and there are men and women there. That's a good way. That's a good way. So now, what I want to know from you out there is, tell me your love story. Do you have a love story? Do you? Is there some place that you go to all the time? Is there some place you thought you wanted to go to? And for women, it's nothing wrong with going somewhere by yourself. Travel. It's nothing wrong with traveling by yourself. You just make sure that you're safe. But you'd be surprised at the people you will meet when you're traveling. You think about it, you have something in common already. The most important part to have I would say to have a long-lasting, loving relationship is to start off as friends. Because when you start off as friends, then you get to know each other. And it's not that, okay, I'm in this relationship with you because I want to know if you're marriage material. You might not even think that they're marriage material and become friends And then you find out, well, you know what? We have so much in common. We have good conversations. We like to laugh. Um, we like to see movies. Um, just all kinds of things. We go to the same church, or we have the same religion. We love to read books. We like to watch the same TV shows. We just have good conversations about things happening in the world or whatever, and you become friends. That is, to me, one of the best ways to meet your partner. Okay? Now, it's just one of the best ways. But like I said, Keith and I, we were friends, although we met on a newspaper, but we were looking for someone. However, we were friends before we really committed to each other in a relationship. We had to find that we had a lot of things that we like to do together. We like to converse. We have good conversations. He makes me laugh, and I love to laugh. We both like to travel. So just a lot of the values, we have the same values. But you find that out when you are friends first. Now, let's go on to something else. Okay, I see that my phone is buzzing, so I'm going to look just a minute just to see. Okay, all righty. Now, let's say you have met someone, you've become friends, and you're kind of thinking, you know what? I think, we think that we would like to be in a permanent relationship. And we decide we want to get married. Now, many of us who are not married, not many of us, but many of you out there who are not married, look at it as a fairy tale. Marriage is beautiful, but marriage is hard. Now, why do I say that? Even though it's two highly compatible people, the thrills of marital love are often accompanied by challenges. And sometimes these challenges will unearth the deepest character strengths and flaws in each person. Because even though you started out as friends, you really don't know the real flaws and even sometimes the strengths of that person until you're living together. Now, I'll say this: marriage, it can be magnificent, it can be fulfilling, all these experiences shared by two people. But if you're both willing to do the work it takes, and sometimes you have to do this before you get married. Some people go to marriage counselors, but it's like you starting to grow something. You're starting to grow a flower or grow a tree, in the right direction. So it's like in the beginning, as a friend, when you're friends, it's like you're planting the seed. Now, I've been married, and I'm not in, like they talk about being transparent. I've been married 3 times, and so has Mr. Keith Fortman. So, but we did find the third time was the charm. Why? Because we learned some things from those first two. However, there are times when you still bring that baggage. So when from the first one or either from the second one because of habits. Now, what happens when you're married, when you're really living with someone, a lot of things that you didn't see when you were friends because you weren't living together. Okay? Uh, Certain little idiosyncrasies. And when you see these idiosyncrasies, it's an eye opener. However, since you have committed to each other, then you try and, I would say, oversee those idiosyncrasies. One thing I would say is don't sweat the small stuff, even though it's those small little things that sometimes kind of like get you. Okay. However, as I said, when you begin your marriage, you have to, first of all, take divorce off the table. Don't have that in your mind. Well, if things don't work out, and I've heard people say that if things don't work out, we'll just get a divorce. I'll just try to divorce her, or I'm going to divorce him. Take that off the table because marriage is work. Now, tips. Stop trying to change your spouse. I know that's hard, especially when there are things that happen that you really don't particularly care for. Now, this is what I'm going to say. If it's something big, something about their personality, and it's really something that's deep within them, and you just found this out maybe because you are married now, you know what? Don't try to change that person. A lot of times they'll say about women is, yeah, we got married and she changed. No, she didn't. Or we got married and he changed. No, he didn't. That was who they were when you got married. But what you're saying to yourself, even though I found out there are certain things that they will or they won't not, they will not do or they will do or whatever, you work at it, you communicate, and you let that person know. So what I'm going to say, a lot of times they say communication is the most important factor in a relationship, and it is. You want to communicate. You want that person to know who you are. In other words, you don't hide anything. But the most important part is respect. Respect your partner. So I looked up something, and this one person said, as far as why they stayed married a long time, I think this person had been married like about 35 years. And they said, what I can tell you is the number one thing is respect. It's not sexual attraction. It's not looks. It's shared goals. No, she said it's not shared goals, religion or lack of it, nor is it love. There are times when you won't feel love for your partner, but you never want to lose respect for your partner. Once you lose respect, you will never get it back. Now, looks, as you get older, your look's going to change. You were skinny when you were young, and now you've gained weight. Men, you had all this hair, and now you don't have any. Women, your hair was beautiful and thick, and now it's thin. You had smooth complexions, now they're wrinkles. You had a flat tummy, men and women. Now you got a little tub. All kinds of things, happen. You might have goals. You might have shared goals. But as time went on, kind of had a little different goal. Okay, well, I just wanted to retire and sit down. But then I just want to retire, and now I want another career. or religion. I know couples who have different religions, but they are together. I know couples who have different political views, but it does not. They respect, I'll say they respect each other. When we talk about communication, talk openly about everything, especially the stuff that hurts you. Say what you want and what you don't want. Don't let it fester. A lot of times that's what we do. We just kind of like, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to hold, I'm going to hold it in. But then what happens? And I'm guilty. You hold it in. And then it just explodes. All of this comes out. Well, 10 years ago, you did this. Well, 12 years ago or 5 years ago, you said this. And then the person looks at you and like, why didn't you say that a long time ago? So talk openly about everything. Remember, you two people, you've come together. I'm going to do like this. Now you are in a relationship, and as they say, you are one. Another way, and I kind of like this myself. Give each other space. Think about this. Sometimes you just might want to be by yourself. It doesn't mean that you don't love that person. Or if that other person decides they want to be by themselves, it doesn't mean that they don't love you. But give each other space. Time to think. Time to read. I gave my husband space. He has a man cave. I very seldom go in there. But then when I do go in there, I figure, I know he doesn't want me in here because I start looking around like what I can move, what I can take out of there, whatever. But that's his space. We can watch his games because he loves football. And I'm just like, over football. But space. He gives me space. Okay? Now, another thing. You and your partner will grow and change in unexpected ways. So embrace it. Remember what we said. Marriage is difficult. Marriage is hard. You have to work at your marriage if you want to stay married. So when you see a change and it's not, I would say, detrimental to your marriage, embrace it. If you feel that the change is detrimental to your marriage, then talk about it. Talk about it. Respect that person. Why? See where they're coming from. But you got to be open. You got to be honest. Now, the F word. Now, some of you looking like the F word. The F word. You know what that F word is? The F word is forgiveness. Forgiveness. And forgiveness is hard. However, who is forgiveness for? It's not for the other person. Forgiveness is for you. Because forgiveness hurts you. It hurts your heart. It hurts you mentally. And if you don't have forgiveness, I'll say unforgiveness hurts your heart. It hurts you mentally. It hurts you. It can hurt you physically, and it can also hurt you spiritually. So get good at forgiveness. Now, going back to communication, if it's something that has hurt you, what do? The best thing to do is to talk about it. Let that person know that they hurt you. You know what? It might be that they didn't even know. Most of the time, it's not that that person is trying to hurt you. It just might be something that they just did not know that it would hurt you. Now, going on with forgiveness and communication, the little things can add up to big things. That goes all the way back to communication and respect. The little things. Because what happens sometimes in our mind, that little thing, now you attach something else to it, and then you attach something else to it, and then you attach something else to it. Now it's something big. Talk about it. And be practical and have relationship rules. Rules can be anything. Rules can be, I'm the one who washes dishes, or I'm the one who takes out the trash, or I'm the one who opens up the blinds in the morning. Or, in other words, it's almost like responsibilities, and it's relationship rules. I'm the one who does this, or I'm the one who does that. And you have these rules. And often, sometimes, when you don't establish these, they say rules, but I would say likes and dislikes, or do's and don'ts. Rules, so that that person knows, well, this is what he doesn't like or he loves to do, or this is what his responsibility is, or we've decided together that this is his responsibility, and we've decided together that this is her responsibility. So, but they have to be practical. Okay? I have a rule. And it's just I don't see it as a rule, so I don't really like that word. I just see it as something that sometimes it's expectations. You know what my rule is? Make the bed every day. If you get up out of the bed at noon, make the bed. If you get up out of the bed at 7 p.m. and you're going to bed at 9 p.m., make the bed. That's just I don't know what it is. I guess it's a quirk, whatever it is. That's the rule. That's not the rule, but that's like an expectation. So there is, and I said, I communicated that. Now, let's say that's your expectation, male or female. And it's not the other person's expectation. But because you have communicated it and you respect that person, okay. So think about it. Is there something, and you're together, you're living together, or you're married, and there is this something that kind of like, ugh, tell the person. Communicate. When I said talk openly about everything. Now, I am waiting for love stories. I can see you. I don't see who you are, but I see. Oh, one person I see. I see your name, RB. You have a love story? And I see others. I don't know who you are. I can just see the numbers, and I can see where you are viewing from. Do you have a love story? Or do you even just know a love story? Or Is there a movie, a love story movie that you just love? You have friends and you see their love stories. Do you have? Put it in the comments. Put it in the comments if you have. If you know of a love story of someone's friend. Now I'm going to check my text and I want to look at my text. Let's see. Has someone text me about a love story? Okay, so here's one. Okay, she says, let's see, I don't have my glasses on. She says, my mother and father have been married for 50 years. And then she says, I've never seen them fight, but I can always tell when they're angry with each other. But what I've seen is they never go to bed angry. They have, as long as I was there living with them, they have never gone to bed early. I mean, not early, surely without saying, I love you. Okay. That's a beautiful love story. Okay. I have a friend who's been married 63 years. Now, how did they meet? I'm going to say this. I don't think she's watching. She said she got on the bus. She was in high school. She got on the bus and she saw this guy. And she said he looked at her and she looked at him and she said, where are you going? And he said, I'm going to work or something like that. She said, I just kind of liked the way he looked at me. I'm like, oh, really? Well, they went together in high school. They graduated. And a year later, they got married. And he joined the military. And she was, I guess, a military wife, moving all over everywhere. And they were married 63 years until he passed. 63 years. And when you would see them together, it was like they just got married. And people would say, we never saw one without the other. But all of these things that I talked about, that's what they did. They said, marriages work. It's two different people coming together, sometimes from two different environments, just two different ways they are thinking. However, they lasted for 63 years. Okay, here's another text. Okay, this person says they love the movie Love and Basketball with Omar Epps and Sanaya Lathan. It's a terrific love story, competition, and a deep love connection. So, if you have not seen that movie, this person is saying, watch the movie if you want to see a good love story. So, I'm so happy that you all did contribute. You didn't put it in the chat, but you text me or message me. So this Valentine's Day coming up, even if you don't have a Valentine, as they say, and you don't have a love interest right now, but you want a love interest. The things that I said, the places you can meet someone, the importance of your friendships beforehand. And if you do have a Valentine and you're married, and maybe things are blah because you've been married for so long, rekindle it. Okay? Do something different. Do something special. Rekindle that love. Okay. Well, excuse me. I definitely want to thank all of you who are watching, even though you didn't put anything in the chat. But like I said, I can see the numbers. So thank you so very, very much for watching Relationship Matters TV. Because I always say that all kinds of relationships and all kinds of relationship matters. Life is about relationships. Now, if you would like to be on my show, if you would like to be a guest on my show, or you know someone who you think would be a good guest, this is what I want you to do. I want you or someone who you know, refer them to me. Have them to go to my website at www.drjanicespeaks.com. And for those who are Audible only, that's DRJANICESPEAKS.com. DrJanicespeaks.com. Now, if you would like to talk with me about relationships, I am a relationship communications expert and coach and consultant. You can reach me very easy, Dr. Jan at drjanicefortman.com. That's Dr. Jan, Dr. Jan, at Dr. Dr. Janice, JANICEFORTMAN.com. And just in case you just, have some ideas for my show, you can reach me at Relationship Matters TV at gmail.com. Okay, so now, all of a sudden, these are some things that are coming up. Maybe it was the internet. So, hey, Rhonda Brown, RB. How are you? Thank you so much for joining in. And Gwen Dunbar, hey, Janice, this is not my topic, but enjoyed the tips. LOL. Okay. And Sandy Barney Ennis, what about lust? You interested in that story? Yeah. As a matter of fact, Sandy, there's someone that would love to be on my show. And I think she's an intimacy and sexuality expert. So if you are interested in having her on my show, email me at relationshipmatterstv@gmail.com. Okay, Sandy. I love that. So I will see you again next week on Relationship Matters TV, where and when I will have guests who are young men whose story of triumph that you definitely want to hear. Because sometimes we think our triumphs, our reality, and guess what? His name is reality. But sometimes we think the positions that we in are so untenable, we can't get over our careers are horrible, our life is horrible, but you want to be here to hear their stories about triumph. So, and for you Toastmasters out there, yes, so is my word. Okay. It just is. For those who are not Toastmasters, those are what they call filler words. Now, if you would like to learn how to speak or even learn how to have a podcast, you can email me at relationshipmatterstv@gmail.com, or just go on my website, drjanetspeaks.com. All righty. It's wonderful. I thank all of you for being with me this evening, this morning, this afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And we'll see you again next week. Remember, there are all kinds of relationships. There are all kinds of relationship matters. Life is about relationships. Okay? And we have a new sponsor. And they'll be on my show soon. All righty. Bye-bye.